The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. And according to modern physics, neither does the present. Scientists have already proven it. Everything you call now is an illusion your brain builds to survive. Look at the clock. Watch the second-hand jump. Tick, tick, tick. Feels obvious, right? Time moves. It flows. It carries you forward whether you like it or not. But that feeling might be a lie. The biggest lie your mind has ever told you. And the strangest part? Physics has known for a century. But if time is fake, why do you feel it so strongly every single moment of your day? Imagine you're living in a completely ordinary day. You wake up, you check your phone, counting hours. Your calendar tells you where to be. Your body says when to eat. Your memory holds what already happened. Your worry tells you what hasn't happened yet. Every part of you is soaked completely in time. It feels like water. It feels like air. It feels like the one thing you could never doubt.
Deadlines press on you. Birthdays arrive. Faces in old photos look younger than the ones in mirrors. You bury people. You meet children who did not exist a decade ago. You cannot stop it. Time is the river everyone drowns in eventually. That's the story your brain tells you every day. But your brain is not a physicist. Your brain is a survival machine focused on keeping you alive. It cares about food, danger, mates, and memory. It does not care about what is actually real. When scientists sit down and write equations describing the universe at its deepest level, something uncomfortable happens. The variable for time starts to disappear completely. Turns out the equations don't need time at all. For most of history, nobody questioned this. Isaac Newton wrote absolute time into physics as an unbreakable law. A universal clock ticking in the background of the cosmos, the same for a rock, comet, king, child. 1 second here is 1 second there.
The universe was a stage and time the metronome behind curtain. Then a young clerk in a Swiss patent office ruined everything. His name was Albert Einstein, unknown genius. Einstein looked at Newton's clock and asked a simple, terrifying question. What if there's no universal clock? What if time isn't the same for everyone and instead depends on how fast you actually move and how much gravity is pulling on you right now? Turns out he was right. We proved it. Every satellite orbiting your planet is proof. GPS clocks tick at a slightly different rate than ground ones. They move faster. They sit higher inside Earth's gravity well, where time actually flows a bit differently. If engineers didn't correct that difference every single day, your maps would drift by kilometers within hours. Your phone would send you into the wrong city entirely.
Time literally bends around motion and mass. That means there is no shared now. Contrary to popular belief, the present isn't one single thing. Your now and the now of an astronaut on the space station are slightly different slices of reality. Stretch that difference across the galaxy. Something on the far side of the Milky Way sits somewhere else.
Maybe your past, your future, or your present, depending on how fast you happen to be walking now. Across the cosmos, the word simultaneously quietly loses every trace of its familiar, comforting, everyday human meaning. Einstein saw where this was going. Late in life, when a close friend died, he wrote a haunting letter. The distinction between past, present, and future is a stubborn illusion, he wrote. Then quantum physics erased time completely. In the 1960s, physicists John Wheeler and Wheeler-DeWitt tried combining Einstein's gravity with quantum mechanics. They wrote down what should have been the master equation of the universe, describing everything that exists. When they finished, they looked at the page and noticed something strange missing. There was no time variable, none at all. The equation described the entire cosmos, yet time did not appear anywhere inside it whatsoever. Some call it the problem of time.
Others call it the answer.
Maybe time was never truly fundamental. Maybe it emerges, like temperature emerges from moving atoms, or wetness emerges from crowded water molecules together. No single molecule is wet. Wetness only appears when trillions of them gather together. Time might work identically. Now consider the block universe. If you take Einstein seriously, past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Every moment of your life is a thin slice of a four-dimensional loaf of bread, permanently baked in. Your birth, your first kiss, your very last breath, all sitting there, permanent, fixed, unmoving forever and ever. You are not walking through time. You are a shape that stretches through every single second of it. Studies show entropy, the slow, relentless spread of disorder, gives you the feeling of a forward direction. Ice melts, coffee cools, stars burn out. That one-way slide is what your brain labels the arrow of time. Thousands of years ago, philosophers guessed at this. Parmenides said change was an illusion, a persistent trick. Buddhist thinkers said the self and the moment were empty. They had no equations, only sharp intuition. And somehow, they got closer to the math than most of us do today. So why does time flow? Here is where things get personal. Your brain is a prediction engine wrapped in meat, guessing endlessly. Every second, it takes in a flood of signals, light, sound, pressure, and guesses what happens next. To do that, it needs a story. Every story needs a before, a middle, and an after. Your consciousness is that story being written in real time. Except the writing is not happening now. Scientists believe your brain stitches together a window of about 3 seconds and calmly calls it now. Inside that window, memory and prediction blur together into one strange, seamless impression of your lived reality. What you remember, what your senses report, what you expect a second later, all gets fused seamlessly. There is no crisp knife edge present. Only a soft moving smear your restless mind pretends is sharp. Try this. Snap your fingers. By the time you register the sound, the event was already past. Your brain reached back, grabbed it, and dropped it into your now so you would not notice. It does this constantly. It fills gaps and rewrites the order of events when it needs to.
Researchers can trick people into feeling a flash before a sound that actually came first in labs. Your sense of time is not a recording at all. It is a story your brain keeps rewriting. But here's the twist. Consciousness fabricates the flow. Once you see this, you truly cannot unsee it. If your brain invents time itself, can it also lie about time? A dangerous, dizzying question awaits. Ask anyone who fell, crashed a car, or stared down a loaded gun. Same answer every time. Time stretched. A single second bloomed into a full minute. Every small detail became painfully, impossibly clear. Scientists call this subjective dilation. Sensing danger, your brain dumps more resources into recording every fleeting moment, more frames per second. When you remember later, it feels long because it was so densely stored inside. Now flip it. Ask anyone who has entered what athletes and artists together call the state of flow. A musician lost inside a solo, a surgeon in a hard operation, a gamer in a perfect run. Hours vanish, they look up and the sun has moved. Their brain was too absorbed to log time. Psychedelic compounds do something even stranger. People on high doses report that time itself collapses entirely inward. Past and future become the same room. Some describe a single eternal moment, quietly containing everything at once. Neuroscientists study these states today, with real equipment in real hospitals, watching brain rhythms slow and shift. They find the brain regions responsible for tracking time literally quiet down. Your inner clock switches off, and when it does, you do not die. You simply stop believing in the flowing river of time. Coma patients wake up years later and swear only one single night has actually passed for them. Grieving people say a decade felt like a week. Bored children say an afternoon felt like a lifetime. Deep in the Amazon lives a tribe called the Piraha. Linguists report their language has almost no tenses. No will, no was, no future perfect tense at all. They live, by all accounts, entirely in present. Some researchers argued this claim was overstated. But the deeper question stands. Language shapes how we perceive time. Turns out the words you actually have quietly determine the flow of time you feel inside your mind. Near a black hole, physics warps time. 1 second outside the event horizon equals years back on Earth. You could watch civilizations rise and fall in a single afternoon, drifting through reality at a different rhythm entirely. Time is not a substance, it is a rate. Every rate depends on where you happen to stand. But here's the thing. Physics goes even further than gravitational time dilation near massive, collapsing dying stars. Italian physicist Carlo Rovelli spent his life on this problem. His theory is called loop quantum gravity. In his picture, space itself is not smooth.
It is made of tiny loops woven together like chain mail. Each loop is 100 billion times smaller than an atomic nucleus. And time? Not woven in. Time, Rovelli says, does not exist at the fundamental level of the universe. What exists instead is change, events, interactions. One loop touches another. A particle scatters. A photon is absorbed by another passing particle. The universe is not a movie playing forward. It is a network of events connected without a master clock. When Rovelli writes his equations, he does not need the word time. He needs only relationships between things. This happens with respect to that. That happens with respect to something else. No master ticking clock anywhere. Time is what emerges when you zoom out far enough that you stop seeing loops and see the pattern. Think of a song. A song is not one note. It is the relationship between notes over time. Freeze every note in space, side by side, and the song still exists as a structure you could measure. You could point to it, you could measure it, but nothing would actually be playing anywhere at all. That is the universe Rovelli describes. A frozen four-dimensional crystal, full of relationships and countless silent events. Full of what you would call moments, but nothing moving, nothing flowing, nothing ticking anywhere at all. The flow is you, the little machine behind your eyes, sliding along one edge of the crystal. It tells itself a story it calls my life. The crystal doesn't care. The crystal doesn't move. It simply is. And you are one of its patterns. So, what does this mean for you right now? Sit with it for a second, because the consequences are not small. They reach into every memory. If the block universe is real, then every moment you have ever lived is still there, permanent. Your first day of school, the face of someone you lost, a laugh you thought you would forget. None of it is gone, not one frame. It sits in the crystal exactly where it always was. You just cannot walk back. Consciousness is a one-way needle in a groove, not a free camera. That means loss is not what you think. The person who is not here anymore is not erased. They are elsewhere in the shape of reality. Their moments are permanent. Your moments with them are permanent.
You will never touch them again, but they were. And were turns out to be a strong word, stronger than is, because is depends on where you are standing in time. Was is fixed forever. Was cannot be taken away by any physics we know. That also means the happy version of you remains. The version that was scared is still there. The version reading these words will always have existed. Whatever happens next, this moment is being carved into the crystal permanently. You cannot ever lose it. You were never holding it. It was something you were. And that, turns out, is enough forever. For some people, this idea softens the panic and the urgency of the ticking clock loosens just a little.
If every moment is permanent, wasting one isn't a crime against some finite bank account you're bleeding dry. It's a shape you're drawing, and you want it to be a shape you can bear looking at. Presence matters more than speed. What you do inside the moment matters more than how many you cram in. For other people, this same idea does the exact opposite. It sharpens presence into something sharper and brighter. If your consciousness slides through this instant only once, then this instant deserves your full attention right now. Not tomorrow, not later, but now. The now that isn't really a now, the now your brain built. 3 seconds wide, smeared and stitched together, stubbornly yours, held by neurons stretching a fragile present into experience. Either way, you leave this mystery a little different, though you still have deadlines and you still keep aging. You still bury people you love, and physics doesn't save you from any of that heavy, ordinary grief. But physics does whisper something strange in your ear. It says the river might not be a river. It might be a lake you're walking across in one direction because that's the only direction your legs know. And there's one final loop almost nobody talks about. One last question hiding at the edge of everything. If time itself is an illusion, then what exactly does that mean for death waiting at the end?
Death, in the ordinary picture, is the moment the clock stops, the final tick echoing into total silence. But in the block universe, there is no final tick. There are only edges, beginnings and endings. Your life has a beginning edge and an ending edge, the way a book has first and last pages. The book doesn't stop existing when you close it, and neither, in this strange picture, do you. Nobody really knows what happens to consciousness at the edge. Does the needle stop, restart elsewhere, or never slide? Some physicists suspect consciousness is deeply tied to entropy, that one-way arrow which gives time its direction. If that's true, understanding time and understanding awareness might be the same problem, wearing 2 different masks. Next video, I'll unpack how entropy, memory and the mind might all be facets of the same hidden thing. Some scientists now believe your sense of self is another survival illusion, exactly like your sense of time.
If you want the rest of that puzzle, that video is your next stop after this one ends. But before you click, ask yourself this. What if every moment of your life was actually permanent, forever? What if nothing you did today would ever truly disappear? What would you do differently in the next hour, the next conversation, the next time somebody you love quietly walks into the room and looks at you? You don't need physics to answer that question. You just need to notice. Before you answer, one small ask. Do you feel time flowing right now? Or is your brain drawing it for you, frame by frame? Tell me in the comments, I read them all. If you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe now. The next video on death and entropy is already waiting.